So welcome to Satsang. As you know, if you have any questions, please feel free to post them or write them in the chat box. Also, if you are on YouTube, the way you can pose a question is by writing your question in the YouTube chat box, and Tara will copy it and bring it to me. Another way of sharing your question is by going to my Facebook Messenger and send me a message. It will appear in the upper right corner of the screen, and I should be able to answer it then. I have 3 questions that were sent to me, so I will take a little time a little later to answer these questions. So welcome to Satsang. I want to speak a little bit about silence. So silence is at the core of the teaching, the living silence is, one could say, the destination of the journey. There is a silent understanding that is the final understanding in your journey. So the silence of the self is beyond the silence of the mind, and of course beyond the silence of the body. So we're not talking about observing silence, like for example in silent retreats, or remaining silence, a vow of silence. We're not talking about that. Nor are we talking about stilling the mind, silencing the mind, which is a sort of effort. These are practices that some schools engage in to still and silent the mind. So I'm not talking about the silence of the body or the silence of the mind, which are a form of doing, suppressing, which are a certain activity of the body-mind. The teaching, as you are right now hearing these words, the essence of the teaching is in the silence. It is not in the meaning of the words. It is between the words and within the words and beyond the words. Our true nature, the self-consciousness, is effortless silence. Our true nature. It is a silence that is the substance, the reality of all what you perceive, all what you experience. That the mind cannot perceive or conceive, but it's the silence that the mind can dissolve into. As the mind dissolves in the self, the silence, the stillness of the self resonates. So you could say, for example, that the silence is the perfume of the self. It's a peace, an inner stillness that is undisturbable and undisturbed. In our daily life, there's a chatter of the mind, of thoughts and feelings. The thoughts about me, my life, what's happening to me tomorrow, etc. There is a chatter. Opinions, judgments about myself and others. Between every thought, between every note, there is a silence. The vastness of being that is overlooked when the attention is pulled, is drawn by the activity, by the thinking, by the feeling. So we find ourselves sort of mesmerized by the stories, mesmerized by thoughts, mesmerized by the feelings. And at the core is that we are mesmerized by the me. We are preoccupied with the me, with some imaginary me and the sense of me that is constantly knocking on our door and engaging us in thinking and feeling. But this entire play is arising in the silence and is imbued with the silence. And as you contemplate your true nature, as you contemplate what I truly am, what is it that is real, you are contemplating the silence. And in time, you will find that your mind is more and more resonating as the silence, as opposed to resonating as the thoughts or the images or the feelings. And you will find that in your life, in the midst of your activities, irrespective of whether you are still or active, whether the body-mind is silent or non-silent, that your being is radiating the silence. And more, your being becomes a silence. And this goes hand in hand with recognizing yourself as the transparency of being. Recognizing yourself as the formless self. As the recognition of your true nature blooms into this transparency, into this borderless aware presence, the silence resonates as your being, as your true self. So there is the practice in your daily life of resting as that still presence. As you are resting, you are contemplating that what I am is not a form. I am not something that appears. That what I am is this stillness, this absence. And it is this absence that is freedom and joy. And complete creativity. All creativity arises out of the potential that is within this absence. And as you recognize yourself via your contemplation as that does not appear, but yet that is beyond the mind, that perceives the mind but is not made out of mind. The transparency of being, your cosmic body, will reveal itself. And the inner resonance is the silence. At the same time, you become watchful of how the mind is trying to pull you into thinking about me as a subject in relation to the world, in relation to others. You notice this tendency of personifying the formless self into materializing consciousness into specific images and forms and thoughts and sensations. This process of materialization is the impression of matter, an impression of physicality. You notice this arising because in the absence of noticing this arising, this arising gets on board so quickly, and then you will find yourself in the turbulence of thoughts and feelings. But over and over, without judgment, you can return to presence. You can return to the stillness. You can return to the silence of the self. It is always available. It does not judge you for successes or failures. There is no such thing as judgment within the self. Judgment only exists within the mind that has objectified consciousness. It is dream, illusion. Both the personification of consciousness and the judgments are dream, are empty, they're void. It is important that you contemplate the emptiness of body-mind sensations, so you do not get entrapped into the impression that there is something at stake for you as a person. That entire download of me as a person in time and space, and the vulnerability that comes with that, and the sense of urgency and sense of danger, of personal danger, imminent danger that arises with that download, is around the corner ready to hook you. But it's all empty. It's important that you see the emptiness of it from the perspective of consciousness. Only by turning your attention to the source, to the stillness of being, to that, the reality that perceives what I truly am, what is the reality of my experience, shifts your attention from downstream to the upstream, to the source. So I welcome your questions, whatever questions you may have. Okay, so I will go to Anne's question. Hello, Anne. You sent me this question.
Hello.
Hello, Anne. You say there seems to be a constant turning of attention from the mind to the awareness, which I realize is always there, but often overlooked. It's very beautiful, yes, very beautiful. Seems to be getting much easier and sweeter the more I ask, what is the reality of my experience? Yes, question, what is the reality of my experience, is a question that takes you upstream. It does not take you downstream into the me story, into the feelings, the emotions. It takes you up to the source. Good. All worries and neuroses dissolving in this awareness, exactly as you say this happens. And there seems to be a growing fascination to remain there. Yes, it's good. And stabilize in it, so I don't jump back to the mind. That is a good fascination. It's the correct fascination. The body-mind is dissolving in this, but not yet seen as everything. And some concern this is just a resting place as I want to go all the way. Well, it is good that you want to go all the way. That's why go halfway? And some concern that this is just a resting place. Well, if you are happy, and the mind arises, says, well, I'm concerned this could be a resting place, I wouldn't be so concerned. If you are happy, just that's good enough. Be happy, okay? When happiness gets overcrowded with the me concern, oh, will I be happy tomorrow? Then you can go back to the contemplation first, that such thoughts are empty. And secondly, what am I truly? I am not anything in time and space. Consciousness, awareness, presence is not in time and space. In other words, there is nothing that is happening to consciousness. Yes, there are some things that happen to the body-mind that we all know. Something that happens to the oak tree, we all know that. But consciousness, what I truly am, awareness, presence, beingness, is not a form, is not a phenomenal. In the phenomenal realm, nothing happens to that. So whenever You're happy? Yes, be happy. It's beautiful. The mind arises, says, oh, will I be happy tomorrow? Then you can ask yourself a very simple question. What is tomorrow? What is tomorrow? Outside of a thought or an image of me and some idea, some thought of tomorrow.
Yes.
I feel, I'm continuing with what you wrote, I feel the only safe place is complete dissolution of body-mind. And it feels like I'm playing with fire each time the interest goes back to thought, body-mind. Body-mind is important to understand that body-mind are arisings. In other words, the sensation arises. For example, a sensation in your tooth or your leg or your body, your feet on the ground. That's a bodily sensation. It's you witness this bodily sensation. Then you say, oh, the ground is cold or the ground is hot or my tooth is hurting or not hurting. So the body is an arising as sensation. And of course, it also arises as images. Images when you look in the mirror or images, mental images of the body mind. They are arisings. And they also arising as perceptions. You can perceive your hand. So when you say body mind, you're talking about thoughts, perceptions, and sensations.
Yes.
The reality of the thought, of the perception, of the sensation is consciousness. So we don't need to get rid of the world body, of the body mind. We do not need to dissolve the body mind. We need to come to the understanding of what is real versus what is appearance, which is viveka, the discrimination. There is a discrimination which is essential in the Dharma, to discriminate between what arises and is constantly changing, like the clouds. Yeah?
Yes.
They have different shapes, they have different colors, and different density, whatever, but they are an arising. Yes? You, awareness, consciousness, is not an arising. So the metaphor of the wide open sky is not affected by the clouds that arise within it. It's the metaphor. What is important is to discriminate between consciousness, what I truly am, and what appears. That is the viveka, the discrimination. Thank you, Riti. Hello, Maria. I got your question. I will come to it in a few minutes. Also, what matters in the dharmic path is the dispassion. The dispassion meaning that we take care of the world, body, mind as it needs to be taken care of. When we have a plant, we water it. When we need to make an income, we plant the fields, or we work in the bookstore, or we work in the company, whatever we do, in order to take care of the body, mind. But that is not our passion. This passion is not a disregard. A dispassion means applying the correct response to what is needed, in what is being required in the world, body, mind. But our passion is with awakening. Our passion is with the Dharma.
Yes.
Our passion is not to gain, make progress in the world, body, mind. That happens of itself as God's wills, as it's God's will, as its universal will. It's a universal play. It could be that there is a volcanic eruption and we are burned by the magma, or it could be that there is a very, very bountiful season, and we have a very big harvest, and we have good wealth. That is in the hands of consciousness. So coming back to the dispassion, to the discrimination, excuse me, that do not be concerned about the dissolution of the body-mind. Simply come to clarity about what is it that is real. The body-mind, as you are contemplating what is real, will take its correct place because it has a function. Hunger, for example, the body will experience hunger or thirst. It has its correct place so that you can nourish the body appropriately. Yes? And you learn how to be wise with the word body-mind. You live dharmically. You're careful to feed your body with clean foods, and you're careful in your relationships to adopt the virtues and to live virtuously. And then you will find that the body-mind, world body-mind, becomes more harmonious, and it will not get in your way in your contemplation. So rereading again, I feel the only place is complete dissolution of body-mind, and it feels like I'm playing with fire each time the interest goes back to thought, body-mind. Or maybe this is just impatience and old pattern, vasana of mind from the body-mind. As long as your passion is not in the body-mind, the word body-mind, you are on the right track. Now, be watchful not to be ascetic with, you use the middle way, like the Buddha spoke of the middle way. Be with the body-mind in a gentle, loving way, yes? Still have some belief, I control the body, even though I'm not it, and that I'm moving around in it. If you look at your experience, Anne, and you suspend the thought that you are moving around in your body, if you look at your experience, you will not find that you are moving inside your body. You will find that bodily sensations arise within you.
Yeah.
A bodily sensation arises to you, within you. You do not arise in the bodily sensation. Right?
Right. Yes. Yes.
So you are not moving in the body. The
No.
bodily sensation is moving in you. It's a toothache, and then the toothache dissolves, and suddenly you have a pinch, a mosquito sting. You feel the sting, etc. So you are not moving in the body, and
I think it's because I see things moving when the body's moving, and everything goes past me, or it's more the visual sort of.
Well, let's look at it right now. Let's look at it right now. Yes. So this is moving. Yes. You see that?
Yes.
Are you moving?
No.
Well, this is something moving within you. Okay. Okay. Let's rub your hands. Yeah. Close your eyes and rub your hands. Now you're feeling the sensation. Yes. Are you moving? Are you moving?
No.
You're perceiving. You're perceiving something. You're perceiving. You can call it a sensation. You can call it warmth. You can call it a movement. But you are not moving.
Right. Yeah. Very good. Yeah. See that? Yeah.
So some things move around you. Let's turn a little bit to the right. Yeah, we move our torso to the right, okay, and then gently, very gently, we'll return to the center, and now we gently turn our torso to the left. Yes. Okay? Now, to the left, there is a perception, a certain perception, and then as the torso is moving back to center, there is a different perception, and torso turning to the right, there is a different perception. I am experiencing a certain bodily sensation, and I'm experiencing a certain perception, yes?
Yes.
That's changing, that changes, right?
Yes.
Now, there may be the thought, I am moving. Now, if there is the thought, I am moving, I am perceiving the thought. I am perceiving the thought that says I am moving, yes? So in spite, although I am perceiving the thought that says I'm moving, only if I believe that the thought is correct, meaning that the thought knows something about me, if we both assume that the thought that says I am moving knows something about me, then we have accepted that thought as a fact. So therefore I am moving. But when I contemplate that I know the thought does not know me, what I know is known. What I know is not knowing.
Yes.
So the thought that I know does not know me. Doesn't know anything about me. Knowingness belongs to the self, to consciousness. It doesn't belong to the thought.
Yeah.
So
and is it the same with, so if there's no thought there, but it's like an ingrained habit or belief, is it the same with that? Does that gradually dissolve?
What is a belief without a thought? A belief is an unexamined thought. In other words, a belief is a thought that has no validation to it. For example, I believe the earth is flat. So there is a thought that the earth is flat, and there is a complete absence of validation.
Right, yes, yeah.
So a belief is a thought without sustainability, without evidence.
Yes. Yeah, get that, yeah.
Now there is the me feeling. There is the me feeling, yes? Now the me feeling and the sense of me is also a very subtle arising. In other words, it's an appearance of sort, right?
Yeah, the very subtle one, yeah.
Most often we don't notice it. But it's good to notice it if it's there. In other words, if I sense that I am sitting in this chair, there is a thought I am sitting in the chair, but the thought is I completely invalidate that because the thought doesn't know me.
Yes.
But then there is the sense. I feel like I'm sitting in the chair.
Yeah.
Which is beyond the thought. It's more a bodily thing.
Yeah, they're more difficult for me.
The kinesthetic thing is made out of a sensation. It's a sensation. Right?
Yes.
A sensation, a subtle sensation. A sensation is an arising, is an appearance.
Yes.
And the appearance appears to I. The I, consciousness, does not appear. the sensation appears, right?
Yes, yes.
But the I consciousness, or the reality that perceives, because what would be the sensation without any knowingness? In other words, without being perceived.
Yes.
We would be talking about nothing.
Yeah.
So there is a knowingness, there is there is consciousness, awareness. Yes?
Yes.
That does not appear.
No,
So
it doesn't appear.
Right. So
That's invisible.
And yet it is real. Because it's always there. You will always find consciousness.
Yeah.
But you will not always find the sensation. It keeps changing.
Yes. Yeah, it does.
So even the subtle me sense, the sense of self, is a sensation. And the more you contemplate what am I truly, the reality of the self, the more and more diffuse and transparent this me sensation becomes.
Yeah, that's what I'm finding. Like yesterday, I had such an amazing day and I just felt so transparent, and I knew it was right because I've never thought of it as sweet. You've used that word. It gets sweeter and sweeter. And yesterday it was like really sweet.
Beautiful.
Really. Yeah, it was. It was just lovely. I've never had it like that.
Yes.
Such happiness. Yeah. The only thing is, Magdi, just to ask, after, like I had that day yesterday, and this tends to happen when I have a big opening and I'm more transparent, then the day after, sometimes like I'll get ill or like have it seems like a strong reaction to it. Does that,
I see.
Does that make sense, or would that?
You know, there is a resistance, the personal self, the sense of self is a habit within the body.
Yes.
When we wake up in the morning, I'm a me, and even in our dreams, this is a me, even in the dreams.
Yes.
Only in deep sleep it becomes really, really dim. So there is a habit in the body to experience and to perceive the world, to perceive everything from the perspective of me.
Yes.
So when there is a contemplation of the self and that starts to dissolve, it starts to sort of, it's not fully dissolved yet. So there is the tendency in the body to restructure it. Yeah,
yes.
restructure it.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that. You just, it's going to happen. It takes, it's not an overnight process of reversing or of coming to our true nature. Somehow our true nature has been habitually materialized, physicalized via the I thought, and then it has become in the body a sense of contraction. So don't get impatient with that. Patience is a very important virtue.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So patience is a virtue to honor and to cultivate and to use it in your life.
Yeah,
just
I'm
keep
getting big lessons in that.
Yes. So keep returning to presence. Don't judge yourself when there is this tendency, because it's a magnetic field in a way. It's an energetic process within the body mind. And the contemplation is sort of like the light that shines onto all of it.
Yes.
That process will continue, but to become less and less intense and less and less frequent, and of shorter and shorter duration. You will notice that.
Yeah, I am noticing actually. Yeah.
Okay,
That's lovely. Thank you so much,
okay.
Magdi. Yes. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. 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 I'm going to answer your question, Maria. So Maria writes on the YouTube channel, hello, Magdi. Hello, Maria. This is about control. How much doing from the body-mind, when to say enough and let go. The situation is arising that is threatening the restaurant and my livelihood of 40 employees. These are steps to take. I find anxiousness arising of what I should be doing, but don't know. Okay, Maria, first, if you want to later on contact me, Skype with me, or if you want to go into more precise details, I am available, okay? But answering your question now, which in a way, I think also Anne had a think about control, which somehow I overlooked. Life sometimes will present you, well, let's put it another way. Often, life is presenting you with opportunities, with certain situations that are meant for you to either contemplate what is arising according to the Dharma, according to the teachings, or life will come to actually jerk you or pull from you or pinch you, sometimes gently, sometimes not so gently, to free you, sometimes gently, sometimes forcefully, from a specific karmic condition that is time for you to let it go. I'm talking about the karmic condition. There is a sense of self, a sense of personal self that we project in our life, in our relationship, in our work. There is a personal identity. Often, very often, in our work, in our profession, and of course in our relationships. And the contemplation, the truth is that this sense of self is a misery, is unhappiness. We hold on very tightly to it, and we attach ourselves, we grab on to certain situations or certain relationships or certain objects in our world without realizing that we are actually holding on to the personal self. We are maintaining the personal self, meaning we are acknowledging a personal power, a personal controller, a personal doer. And There is only one doer, one controller, which is consciousness, that controls gravity, that controls the galactic realm, that controls the circulation within the body, that controls thoughts, sensations, and mentations. Whenever we separate ourselves into a personal controller or a personal doer, you're bound to be miserable, and you're bound to have life coming at you, sometimes pinching you softly and sometimes coming with a sledgehammer. It's going to happen. It is bound to happen. That's important for you to understand that in your life there is nothing personal. In your business, in your relationship with your employees, in your relationship with your partners, it is all impersonal. It is all arising to you. There is no thought that you think. All the thoughts that arise from beyond, through you. You perceive them. Even the thought that says, I think these thoughts, is a thought that's flowing through you that you perceive. You are the witness of thought. You are not the creator, and obviously not the controller of thoughts. Only the creator is the controller, and that is not a personal self, a personal image. It is consciousness. Consciousness is the dreamer of all dreams and the perceiver of all dreams. It is the conceiver, the perceiver. It is the creator and the dissolver. In one blow, consciousness brings a tsunami that kills 100,000 body minds. In one blow, consciousness brings a power outage in New York City, and there are 50,000 more babies that are born nine months later. Somehow there's something about the dark that mating, works better this way, I think. I don't know. So, as you contemplate that there is nothing personal, you also need to realize that whatever is presented to you is presented to you for your awakening, and also to live whatever is arising dharmically. Meaning, when a situation arises in your work, in your business, you do not approach it with your emotions. Of course, there are certain emotions that arise, but you realize that these emotions pertain to a personal self that is scared. Oh my God, what's going to happen to me? What's going to happen to my employees? Nothing. Nothing is going to happen to you. Nothing is going to happen to your employees. All of that is taken care of by consciousness, by God. It's in God's hands. You plant the seeds like the farmer plants the seed, and then when the rains, of course, you plant the seeds the best you can, and then you're hoping for the weather, for God's rain, for the magic of consciousness to make the wheat and the corn grow. This is how you need to approach your life. You do not approach them from the sense of what your personal desires are. Of course, in business we have a certain plans, and we try to make the business successful, which makes perfect sense. But if the business moves in a different direction, we do our best with it. And that's all we do. We do our best with it, and we let go of the consequences. We're always doing our best, and we're always taking in consideration everybody who's involved. And we do our best. But it's important not to tighten up around your objectives, what you would like to attain. not to be so tight about it. If it's meant for a certain unfolding to end, it is meant that way for another unfolding to arise, and for a certain flourishing to arise. To perceive what is happening from the eyes of consciousness and not from the eyes of the personal self. The attaching yourself, holding yourself, defining yourself via your work or via your relationships is not the correct definition of yourself. The correct definition of yourself is as consciousness. You remain as consciousness and you do the best you can with the business. So, as these emotions arise, breathe. Allow those emotions to be. Come to the openness of, open your shoulders, open your belly, relax your neck, allow the blood flow, sense it, feel the blood flow, feel the energetics within the body. Notice the borderless presence, borderless. Allow everything that arises, all the sensations, with the breath. Yes? You come to a certain rest, inner restfulness. And from this inner restfulness, you contemplate, without fear, you contemplate the situation. And if there is a certain decision that you need to make, and that you are contracted about it, fearful about it, don't listen to the fear. Relax that fear and trust your reasoning and your perception. If it's not tainted by the emotions, it will lead you in the right direction. Whether it is making a new proposal to your partners, or whether it is reducing your staff, or whether it is selling your business, whatever it is, whatever the decision is, doesn't matter as long as you're making it from a place of inner tranquility, and you are doing your best and taking in consideration all the parties that are involved. In terms of the livelihood of your employees, you do your best to provide for them. You do your best. I know you. I've seen you. I dined at your wonderful restaurant. Really, very lovely place, beautiful place. But the beauty is within you, and the love is within you. And with your employees, I've noticed how loving you are, how thoughtful you are. But this love is not personal love. It is God's love. So God loves your employees more than you love them yourself as a Maria. Actually, your love for your employees is God's love. Trust God's love. God is not a punisher. Will take care of your employees no matter what happens. It is time for them, if it is time for them to move into different direction, then so it is wished, and so it will be. This does not mean that you should not do your best to make sure that their livelihood is secured, but this does not mean that you should make the wrong decisions in over worrying about them And getting stuck around that. It's not the end of their world, nor is it the end of yours. Thank you. Okay, Maria. Again, Maria, if you wanted to meet more around this, or whichever way, I'm available, yes? There is only one thing that is eternal that you can rely on, that is the absolute reality of consciousness. Awakening to that, realizing that that does not come and go. The weather is constantly changing. You come back in 1,000 years, God only knows if America will still be America. You look at the history of humanity, it's constantly changing. Borders are changing, and families, relationships are changing. And in the world, body, mind, change is the norm. And whatever you attach yourself to, consciousness will come to poke you, to encourage you to open up and recognize that does not come and go. Okay, any questions here?
Magdi?
Yes, hello Zoe.
Hi. Let me see if I can make sense of this. When I did Vipassana meditation, there was somebody read something about how the Buddha said what a great gift it was to be born in a human body. And then there's other things I've heard, maybe from Ramana Maharshi, about it's necessary. It's like the body is necessary to awaken. And yet there's this contradiction that the body is imagined and an appearance. I'm trying to wrap my head around that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any commentary on
that? Yes. So it is in this waking dream. It's via this waking dream. It is as this waking dream that this waking dream is like our laboratory. It has within it all what is needed for us to awaken. It has in it all the metaphors, the day and night, the yin and yang, the up and down. It has in it the appearance, and that does not appear. Within the waking dream is the potential and the possibility of contemplating the self. In this waking dream, the body-mind, via the senses and via meditation, we experience the perceptions, sensations, and thoughts, and we are mesmerized by them. It is in this dream, via the senses and via the meditation, that there is the multiplicity of forms and the multiplicity of names and the multiplicity of pursuits and the feelings within the body of happiness and unhappiness, of contraction and non-contraction, which are sort of a physical expression of the absolute happiness of the self. It is via this body that we experience all that. So although the reality is not phenomenal, has nothing to do with world, body, mind, the awakening to the reality requires a body-mind experience, and is possible within this waking dream. So when the Buddha says we're very fortunate to have this body-mind, I think I would assume the Buddha was exhorting his disciples to take full advantage of this temporary realm, to apply themselves to as assiduously as possible to awaken to the emptiness, to the full emptiness, to the formless self, and to utilize this life and live dharmically in this life, so that this life does not become an obstacle for you in how it appears, and leaves you enough undisturbed space for your contemplation. Although the disturbance itself in the world, body, mind is part of what we experience, and brings us also to the contemplation of the formless self, of consciousness, of the reality of consciousness. So although the reality does not belong to the world, body, mind, the world, body, mind is given, is presented to us for to come to the awakening.
Okay, I'm gonna re-listen to this. Yeah, because my mind is spinning as you're talking.
Mm-hmm.
But so also there's this whole thing of as the body nears death, like that's why it's so important, even though it's an imagined appearance, to be doing sadhana, because as the body nears death, if you haven't been practicing, it's very more difficult to awaken, because the body sensations become so loud or something.
In terms of the practice, in terms of the Dharma, the earlier you get on board, the sooner you get the message and you dive deeply in it and stop dilly-dallying around, the more fortune you have, more fortunate you have in your life, and the more opportunity you have in your life to make some really serious progress and in the path. It upon the glimpse into the self, a clear glimpse into the self, you have quite a few decades of work that are required to refine and to stabilize, your understanding, and it is a gift from God to receive a glimpse, to have a glimpse into your true nature, and it is then up to you to really give it your fullness, your entire application. And I would also say that it would be a great fortune for you to also be hearing the Dharma from a living teacher, because in this case it's as if somehow God's light is shining like directly on you in your waking dream in a very sort of live living way. Now, in terms of nearing death, as the body is nearing death, the body will be starting to ache and toil and start to dysfunction, and so the body will be basically sending you all sorts of signals to let it go, to drop it, and in time you will drop it. You will say, okay, good enough, here comes the last breath, and you let it go like an old shoe. But the fact that you're letting go of the body does not mean that you have let go of ignorance. I would not be concerned about the body so much. Of course, take care of the body, manage the body the best you can. I would be applying myself to freeing myself of ignorance, freeing myself of this the sense of me, and living as the whole energetics of living as a person with all these personal concerns and worries and troubles and me images and thoughts about me in time. I would be applying myself, irrespective of what is the age of the body mind, to this inner contemplation of the truth, and living it, even to my last breath, living according to the Dharma.
Yeah, I think this whole thing is arising for me because I've been sitting with my uncle whose body will probably drop soon, and just noticing that, yeah, it just sort of makes this even more important as I see him, his mind struggle with things. And yeah.
Although we are all on the path, it's very few who have had the great fortune of hearing the teaching and studying the scriptures and contemplating and meditating on truth. You'll find that in most cases, this human opportunity, the contemplation is still in the sensations and meditations and perceptions, and the sense of personal self hasn't been inquired into, and in most cases the body doesn't have time to, although at the moments of the body you're getting ready to shed the body, you really don't have enough time to really dive deeply into the contemplations. And so best you can do with your uncle is to be with him in the loving light of presence, and the communion, the recognition of the oneness, this inner communion with your uncle, and meaning with recognizing him as consciousness, and hold that in your heart as you are with him, and don't spin your mind too much about him. Instead just be with him as in the essence.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, Zoe. So, Gabby, hello, Gabby. You sent me this question. What is the difference between liberation and death? It's interesting. We're just talking about it a little bit now. If these two events are equivalent, well, what is the point of even talking to someone about their accomplishment, if these two events are equivalent, liberation and death? Gabi, liberation is sort of death, but it's not the death of the body. It is the death of the personal self, the death of ignorance, the death of the belief that I am a personal body-mind. Now, the body can die, but this does not mean that there is any liberation. Bodies die a dime a dozen. They're dying, every day by the tens of thousands. This does not mean that tens of thousands are experiencing liberation. The death that is referred to in the Dharma is the death of the me, the entire death of the me structure. It does not refer to the death of the body. So the death of the body and liberation are not equivalent. So in talking about liberation, meaning the death of the belief of and the sense of being a personal self, we talk about that because we are interested in awakening, we're interested in liberation, we're interested in truth. We're interested in the end of ignorance, in the end of the illusion of misery, of being a person, this entire chimeric, unhappy dream of being a person. So we can enjoy this waking dream without the virus, without the spoil, without the party pooper of a me and a you, me and a better me yesterday, me tomorrow. So this is why we talk about liberation. We share the Dharma, we contemplate the Dharma. We pose questions about what is the reality of my experience, what am I really? What is it that is really in my experience? So that we can awaken beyond the thoughts and the feelings. Somehow the thoughts and the feelings is what maintains the me. We feel this, we feel that, oh, I'm thinking this, oh, I like that, and all of that is the me. All of that, it may seem to be pretty, it may seem to be happy, but it's not. It's very miserable, because at the center of the me feelings, whether they're happy feelings or the unhappy me feelings, the me thoughts, the I thoughts, whether they're happy I thoughts or unhappy I thoughts, at the heart of that is the sense of personal self, the separate self, separation, the sense of separation. And as long as there is a sense of separation, there is a sense of being me, a person. And being me, a person, is a sense of physicality, a sense of materiality, a sense of density, of opacity, and the sense of being an object in time and space. And that is unhappiness. That is the misery. That is the ignorance that we talk about, in satsang, and the sages talk about that. To continue with what you wrote, Gabi, you say, I know it doesn't make sense to release, but if this body-mind is extinguished by dying, why work to see what will happen at that moment? Our interest is not in seeing what happens when the body dies. Our interest is in seeing what happens when ignorance dies. You follow? It's quite a difference. It is not about the death of the body, but it is about the death of ignorance. One could say that every moment there is a dying. meaning every moment, the body, meaning bodily sensation, dies and new sensation arises. For example, the hunger that you had at lunchtime, where is it now, that bodily sensation? Or when you stubbed your toe in the corner of the table and you went, ouch, 2 hours ago, where is it now? Or the sensation that you had 2 minutes ago, of your back, or where is it now? If you contemplate the body mind, you will find that it's constantly dying. There is a constant arising and dissolving, like the flicker of light. It arises and then it dissolves. Or like the flame, when you're looking at the fire, the shape of the flames, it's like this and then like that and like this. It's constantly changing. Similarly, the physical death of the body is in terms of the entire manifestation is like the flicker of a flame. Millions and millions of flickers of the flame, millions and millions of bodies dying and birthing, dying and birthing. So the contemplation is not about the birthing and the dying of the body, but it is about the death of ignorance, the end of ignorance, the awakening to what you truly are, awakening to that is eternal, infinite, and absolute reality. Any questions? Hello, Sanyong. You're right. I sometimes wonder how come I am constantly thinking about myself. It's all about me, me, me. Well, the reason why you're constantly thinking about yourself, me, 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 is because your contemplation is still young. Your contemplation of what you truly are hasn't yet pierced through this me, me, me. There's still the arising of the me, the arising of the I thought and the me feeling is still dominant in your experience. As your contemplation deepens, that process will change. Continuing with what you wrote, before it was about what I want from this world, and now it is about how present I am at a given moment and how I can completely merge with the truth of being, which I had a glimpse of. Beautiful. So the thinking about me, I want this, I want a better image, I want a better house, I want a better happiness for my children, I want more success for my person, has shifted to now I want to experience the stability of awakening. I want to experience the self, I want to experience reality in a more stable way. So that's a movement in the right direction. Although there is still the desire now is, rather than being towards a personal self, it is towards awakening. That desire is very important. That is via grace that we receive the calling, and we feel that that's what we want. We want to completely merge with the truth of being, which you had a glimpse of. You're very fortunate to have had a glimpse. I sometimes wonder if I am strengthening my egoic self by contemplating on myself all the time. No, you are not strengthening your egoic self. You need to bring into your contemplation What is it that is contemplating? You may find that the contemplation or your interest in contemplation is coming through you, not from you, through you. Like love comes through you, it does not come from you. What comes from you is, I want this, I want that, I want more of this, I want more of that. Because it comes from you as a person, believing that you're a person and you want to aggrandize yourself as a person. But the love for truth is not about becoming a better person, but it's about awakening to your true nature. And you do this work not for your personal self, but you do it on behalf of everyone. I do feel like the self is gradually falling away over time, but it certainly is still there. And it feels like my spiritual search might be contributing to the persisting self. No. You have to be watchful here. Your spiritual interest is in awakening to truth. It's not about becoming a better person or becoming a more spiritual person. Now, there is a thought that may arise, oh, you're being spiritual. Who's being spiritual? You is being spiritual, so therefore you're strengthening your ego. That thought is a tricky thought, is a trickster thought. You have to be careful, because that thought is the thought of the personal self that's trying to introduce itself. It's trying to steal the show. It is trying to come in there and say, hey, stop your contemplation. Because you're doing the wrong thing. You're feeding the ego. Stop your contemplation and come back to me. Come back to being, Sun Young. Come back to being the person. Come back to be the mother, the wife, the worker, the this, the that. Come back to the body-mind. Don't worry about the body-mind is there. It takes care of itself. You have received a gift from consciousness, which is a glimpse into the self. You have an interest in awakening. Pursue it with all your might. You do not have forever. It once occurred to me that perhaps I should just forget about the whole thing, about the enlightenment, consciousness, and etc., and just live my life doing what I'm going to do to help others. You could do that. You could say, well, forget about it. I'm just going to live and help others. And forget about awakening to my true nature. Forget about realizing the self. Forget about knowing myself. I would not encourage that. But you could do that. It's your freedom. And if you do that, the wheel of samsara will spin and spin. You will find yourself again, lifetime upon lifetime, helping others. There is not much into helping others. Of course, some people are called. They're called to help others. They have this big heart, and that's their path. And so their path is via service to humanity. And after many, many lifetimes, they've burnt a lot of their karma. And then they're ready to hear the teaching. But if you're already ready to hear the teaching, and you want to go into the devotional path, that's the wrong choice. That's not meant for you. You've already done that. You've already helped others in many, many previous lifetimes. And in this lifetime, you are called to awaken. Don't trust those thoughts that arise and tell you, oh, well, when are you going to get it, or you're feeding the ego. Both the impatience comes from the personal self. The whole idea that, oh, I was having a better I was being better yesterday and today I'm not doing too good, that also comes from the ego. Similarly, the thought that it is egoic for me to be contemplating the self, that comes from the ego. Instead, you need to apply yourself with every power that is within you to awaken to your true nature. You are very fortunate already. It would be a shame to waste such a gift. Anyways, Sanyong, you're right. I see the truth in what you are saying. Thank you very much. Okay, Sanyong. Any other question here? Oh. So one more question from Pasquale. Hello, Magdi. What about contemplating silence? Could you say something about that? I feel a deep yearning to know silence, a calling for silence. Contemplating silence will be the same as contemplating the self. Is that true? Merci, Pasquale. The contemplation of silence cannot be contemplated from the mind, because the mind makes an image about silence. And silence is not an image, it's not a concept. So the best way to contemplate silence is to be still. But not just physically still, but also an inner stillness where you're looking at the reality that looks, because the reality that looks, that perceives, its essence is stillness, it's a sort of absence. So the contemplation of silence is being silence, not being silent, being silence. Being is silence. Before being anybody, before any arising, is the silence. And this silence is not a feeling, it's... I think Jean Klein uses the term forefeeling. It's a forefeeling. It's a forefeeling of silence, which is a forefeeling of our true natures before the feeling. So you could say that the silence is the resonance, the universal resonance is this silence. The heart, the core of being is silence. You can't think it, you cannot image it, because you are it, you are that silence. This peace, this stillness. Everything is that, all is that. The silence pervades, permeates everything. It's the space between the forms and the space within the forms. It is the silence. So knowing silence is knowing yourself. Knowing yourself as that. You know yourself, your true self, as the silence, as the stillness of being, the peace, the undisturbed quality of being. You know this. You know the silence by dying into the silence. It's all given to the silence. Nothing is held back. Like reaching interstellar space, interstellar space, where there isn't any field, any gravitational field. Just the vastness of space. And you are that. You are that silence. You are that vastness. You are that complete absence. That is a complete presence. And our love for the contemplation and our interest for the contemplation comes from our forefeeling of the silence. Our intuition, our deep intuition of the truth, of the silence that is the Satchitananda, that is the bliss of the self. When that path opens for you, it's a deep blessing. And we contemplate truth on behalf of everyone. That is the true service, that is the true communion, the true love. It's an offering, a complete offering, a total offering of oneself, of all that I am. It is the giving that is the receiving. Thank you for the question. So I'm going to take this opportunity to remind you of the retreat in Costa Rica, which is October 27 to November 1st. It's a beautiful opportunity and time for us to be together. Yes, Maria, yes. Maria writes, grace has put us in this gathering together, yes. So if you can attend the retreat, it would be lovely to be together. Well, thank you all for your lovely company, for your presence and your love. Very happy to be with you as usual. Namaste, all of you, and I wish you happiness. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you, Magdi.
Namaste. Okay, all of you. Very beautiful. Very beautiful.